Dandelion. It is always awkward to write about oneself. Yet, I cannot, must not shirk this duty. In an effort to preempt any accusations of partiality, I shall set down the humblest of notes, same length as Foltests, relating only the best known facts. Dandelion, in reality the Viscount de Lettenhove. Okay, that's interesting. Though titles are unimportant, is a certified troubadour, a lecturer at Oxenfurt University, a persona known among society as a charmer, poet, dandy, and unparalleled lover. So either he was really good or really bad. Almost everyone north of the Yaruga has heard of him, and those who have not are either boors or simpletons, or both, as a result of which their opinions do not matter in the slightest. Dandelion played a significant part in the most important events of the era. He loved, fought, negotiated, and acquired immense knowledge, even that of the forbidden variety. His works are a testimony of the times, but it is his moving poetic tropes that have brought him true fame. The important thing in this story is that Dandelion was a friend to Geralt of Rivia, possibly his only true friend. Right, Triss is going to have words with you, you know. He was Geralt's confidant, advisor, and companion in misery, for it is impossible to experience good fortune in the Witcher's companion. Still sarcastic, wonderful. What Geralt did, Dandelion faithfully recounted, and one should not give credence to those who accuse this humble chronicler of confabulating. He's Arvaric! Of course he is. Just without the cool crossbow. Discretion, a virtue... Oh, he doesn't fight with this. Discretion, a virtue I have always professed, obliges me to remain silent about the circumstances in which, through the person of Vernon Roach, I began working with the Temerian Intelligence Service. Suffice it to say that there comes a moment in everyone's life when, facing great events, they cannot remain indifferent. You were threatened with death, I'm guessing. And so I could not stand aside as history took shape before my eyes. My dedication to the cause brought me to Flotsam at the time. There, through an unfortunate incident involving twins at the local brothel, a town guard, a dog, a cat, and an oil lamp, I wound up on the scaffold in the town square, from which I barely escaped with my life. You worry me sometimes, Dandelion. Vernon Roach. There is a man like Vernon Roach in every monarch's retinue. Brave and determined, ready to execute any command, and thoroughly hated at court. He knows that only allegiance and service to the king keep him in his position. Roach was the leader of the Blue Stripes, King Foltest's special forces, renowned, among other things, for battling the Scoia'tael, and quelling many a rebellious non-human community. It was under his command that the unit rose to fame. Vernon earned Foltest's favour and trust through his deeds. One word from the king, and he would jump headlong into fire, asking only how long he was to stay there and hold his ground. That is the kind of man Vernon Roach was at the time. Vernon proved to be perceptive when he refused to flatly believe Geralt's guilt. Too many things needed to be explained, and the Blue Stripes commander decided risking cooperation with the suspect to get his hands on Foltest's real killer. Thus he remained loyal to his king even after his death. I mean, if Geralt wanted to kill King Foltest, why did he stop the first assassination at the end of the first game? This is a good question. It's probably one of the many things that he had to worry about. He was concerned about. Continuing his private investigation, Vernon headed for the Temerian-Edirnian border, where he expected to find clues to the Kingslayer's whereabouts. Thanks to his very best informant, assume it's Dandelion, Roach knew that the Kingslayer, could have been hiding among the Scoia'tael located in the vicinity of Flotsam, a trading post. This way the royal hound, Vernon Roach, was on the hunt once again. The list of Vernon Roach's achievements in heroic deeds was almost as long, because it's one list, yes, was almost as long as the list of the atrocities and depravities he had allegedly committed along the way. It is a fact that, as the scrawlings on the wall of the University of Oxenfurt say, pacifying non-humans is like wallowing in mud. Everyone gets dirty, generally with blood. Anaïs Lavalette. The daughter of Baroness Louisa Lavalette was a scant few summers old at the time. Rumours that King Foltest was her father gave beginning to many important events. Yes. This game. Vess. The fair-haired Vess stood apart from the Vest of Vernon Roach's unit, and not only in that she was the only woman in an elite formation of hardened cutthroats and swashbucklers. Her girlish face and shapely body would stand out even if a uniform did not emphasize them, for there is something in soldier women that attracts a man's gaze. Dandelion. And Vess was no exception. The reader should not, however, be misled by this description. One does not earn a Blue Stripes membership with good looks, but with skill, determination, and at times ruthlessness. Anyone disregarding Vess would pay dearly for misjudging this young woman. Because of her gender, Vess would sometimes receive assignments where her beauty was more important than her combat abilities and efficiency. Roach had used Vess as his trump card more than once. Shilard Fitz Oysterlin. Many northern kings appear in this story, rash and thoughtful, amorous and frigid, brave and cowardly. The reader should easily see that should their crowns be removed and a pitchfork, sword, a bunch of bills, or a goat's apple given in a scepter's stead, they would be as human as we are. The same, however, could not be said of the Emperor of Nilfgaard, the white flame dancing on the barrows of his enemies, whose shadow fell over all the events I have written down. In this case, that shadow was represented by Shilard Fitz Oysterlin, a consummate diplomat who started more than one war, only to end it accepting homage from the defeated. Marie-Louisa Lavalette. I have chanced to visit the court of the Lavalettes on several occasions in the past. Invariably I was greeted and received in a manner befitting my fame and talent. So you were thrown out. Baroness Marie-Louisa was a very comely lady, her beauty having fully blossomed, her hair dark, her lips sensuous. As with many women married to markedly older men, rumours about her were plentiful. Among them, one claiming that she had had a love affair with King Foltest himself, and that the monarch had fathered her younger children. Ariane Lavalette. Baroness Lavalette's eldest child, Ariane, was beyond all doubt her and the old baron's son. Raised to be a knight, he sought to uphold the virtues of this state, valuing courage and valour, and striving by his every deed to embody them. He must have felt extremely discomforted by the conflict that engulfed him, as at its root lay his mother's and family's honour, pitted against widely discussed rumours of a love affair between the Baroness and King Foltest. Though the situation was dire, the young knight valiantly commanded the defence of his family's castle, intending to give not an inch of ground. Seeing that further resistance was hopeless, Ariane yielded, laid down his arms, and placed him at the king's mercy. Fate seeks forever to amuse itself, and towards this purpose likes to play tricks. It brought the former foes together once more as both fled the dungeons beneath the Lavalette family's vast abode. Honour prevented the proud youth from fleeing his family seat while it was in enemy hands. Ariane made a decision that meant certain death for himself, but he nevertheless made it without hesitation, sealing with his sacrifice the bloodiest chapter ever in Lavalette family annals. Oh dear. Bussy Lavalette. No more than a lad back then, Bussy already displayed the pride and obstinacy typical of the Lavalettes. Some, however, attributed these qualities to the fact that King Foltest was his father. The Kingslayer. Disguised as a blind monk, the mysterious assassin took Geralt by surprise. Displaying immense self-control and lightning reflexes, not to mention a talent for acting, he murdered the king before the witch's very eyes. He then leapt out the window of the solar before Geralt could grab him. Surviving the fall unharmed, the assassin fled with the aid of some scoia'tael. The information in Vernon Roach's possession served to confirm what Geralt had witnessed. A man matching the Kingslayer's description had been seen in the company of scoia'tael near the trading post of Flotsam. Finding him seemed like the witch's only chance. I scrolled somehow. Sorry. Demavend. Oh my goodness words. Demavend, son of Virforil, ruled the kingdom of Edirn, which was mightily aggrieved during the last war with Nilfgaard. A proponent of authoritarian rule, he was seen as having no love for non-humans. He often moved radically against the Scoia'tael, though he drooled in spite of himself when the guerrillas perpetrated massacres on his own people, as these justified the punitive expeditions he delighted in sending into the foothills of Dol Blathanna. He also showed no shyness towards imprisoning and torturing rabble-rousers and street prophets who would interfere in his politics. Thus it is no wonder that many could not wait to see him dead. In spite of this, his subjects could not help but be surprised by his death, for it is not every day that a crowned head paints the palace floor with his blood. Oh, so he's the guy from the boat. Okay. Because Foltest didn't die on a boat. My logic. Yorveth. Oh no. Oh dear. Right. They say all elves are beautiful, that they are born thus. In Yorveth's case, someone set out to change this, marking his face with an ugly scar that the elf partially hid behind a crimson headscarf. Yorveth was a living legend, the elusive leader of a Scoia'tael unit, whose members gave no thought to laying down their arms and continued their war against humans. Stories of his deeds, of his deep hatred of Dwan, painted him as more akin to a vengeful ghost, I shouldn't do that, than to an individual made of blood, bone, and flesh. Certain sources claim that Yorveth was the Kingslayer's ally and thus involved in recent events. Yet Geralt's first meeting with the elf brought few answers and ended with Scoia'tael archers laying down a deadly barrage. Indeed, it seemed at the time that the elf would only ever answer the Witcher with arrows. In the eyes of some people, like Laredo or Roach, Yorveth was a common criminal, his hands stained by the blood of innocents. Indeed, the list of those he had cut down in his fight for freedom could easily rival the number of ballads, romances, and ditties in my repertoire. That sounds like there's quite a lot of them. Zoltan! Woo! The dwarf Zoltan Chive is a close friend of Geralt's and mine. Yet met while we were sneaking through the forests and wilderness of Bruges and Sodden, when war raged all around and the hooves of Nilfgaardian cavalry thundered on the high roads. Like many of his king, he later fought at Brenna in the Mahakam Volunteer Detachment, a unit that contributed greatly to the victory, although this fact is sadly ignored by most chronicles. After the war, he wanted to start a business and even thought about taking a wife, yet fate had things arranged a bit differently. Zoltan had proved his friendship to the Witcher many times, eagerly standing at his side in any moment of need, disproving those who claim that each and every dwarf is a spiteful, aggressive, that they do not care for human blight and that coexistence is impossible. I know many non-humans, and if anything stands in the way of coexistence, it is human ignorance, spite, and ungratefulness. Hatred of that which is other, yes. Not exactly a trait we've gotten rid of, is it? They say a dwarf would get himself hanged for a friend, but Zoltan was in my company on the scaffold for another reason. The local authorities had accused him of colluding with the Scoia'tael, and that is usually enough to earn one the main role in entertainment, like a morning execution. Right, Bernard Laredo. A lot of stuff. Well, he's been appearing a lot, hasn't he? Right. At the time of this story, Bernard Laredo was commandant of the town watch of the river port and trading post of Flotsam. He was well suited to the position, amply demonstrating this through his brutal and heavy-handed approach to enforcing the law and meting out justice to the town. This boorish veteran of the Temerian army was perfectly happy with his posting to the Spackwoods, as he had turned the borderland settlement into a private fiefdom, I don't know, which he ruled through fear and might, passing and executing judgment at whim. I was exceptionally lucky to escape the noose back then. Despite my deepest desire to the contrary, it would not be the last time we saw Bernard Laredo. In spite of maintaining a smokescreen of law and order in Flotsam, Laredo was as benevolent to non-humans as Emperor Emir was to proponents of democracy. Given the slightest excuse, Bernard would have gladly rid the trading post and its environs of all who were not human, using any means available. Much evidence suggested that Laredo was profiting heavily from his position through extortion, unlawful confiscation of goods, and brazen bribe-taking. He would enlist local goons to beat and intimidate all who were uncooperative, and this was very much the order of the day. Laredo yearned for some spectacular success in his fight against the Scoia'tael. Though his prison barge was overcrowded already, capturing Yorveth remained his deepest desire. No, oops. No, let's read all of them. Still reading. I'm still reading. Right. Ooh, only 2 of the characters left. I don't think there's much else in these other ones. It seems that every other person you meet took part in the last war against Nilfgaard. So we're talking about John Natalis. Such are the times in which we live. Yet we best remember those who made their mark in the annals of that conflict. John Natalis, Constable of Temeria, is one such person. Supreme commander of the cumulative forces of the North at the Battle of Brenna, Natalis fought valiantly, commanded wisely, and contributed vastly to the victory, despite being outnumbered by the enemy 2-1. And he did not rest on his laurels after the battle. Instead, he pursued the foe, routing him nec nuntius cladis, or nearly so. I don't know what this means. It's Latin, obviously. What's nuntius? So I think like the school magazine. Yes, my school had a magazine. Came out like once a term. It's called Nuntius because I went to a bit of a pretentious school, really. We are not a soccer school, we are a rugby school. Oh, shut up. We don't care. Sorry. Ranting. Leaving but a few stragglers to flee beyond the Yaruga, John Natalis was honoured richly for his deeds, and a square in Vizima now bears his name. After Foltest's death, Natalis temporarily served as regent of Temeria. Sheila de Tanserville. I know from experience that magicians are not above lusting for power. Among sorceresses alone, there are many whose ambition leads them to pull string. What? Among sorceresses alone, there are many whose ambition leads them to pull strings, moving kings and other mighty forces of this world. To command the elements in spectacular fashion, summon genies, bend fate, dictate royal proclamations, or at least to force others to eat chicken with cutlery. That is why magicians such as Sheila de Tanserville, known as the Kaviri Lona, stood apart from the others. Lady Sheila was not known to interfere in politics, at least not visibly, instead dedicating her days to research. Strict, calm, and collected, unlike other sorceresses, she did not display her feminine charms. Nor did she flirt with men, jiggling her posterior before them at every occasion. Though, and I must remain true to myself here, the world would undeniably be a much poorer place without typical sorceresses. Yes. The reason for Sheila de Tanserville's presence in a backwater town like Flotsam was initially a mystery, yet it quickly became clear that she had come here because of the Kairan, a river monster. For sorcerers gladly use the organs of exotic creatures as ingredients for magical preparations, and Sheila, it seems, was no exception. Sheila's presence also turned out to be a lucrative opportunity for Zoltan, however odd that may sound. The dwarf cut gems for a magical apparatus. Necker. Imagine a drowner that burrows tunnels, climbs trees, is more vicious than usual, and when ambushing its prey, it does so with many of its kin. Drowners were very rarely alone in the first game. Now you have a good idea of what a Necker is. These primitive creatures are the bane of the wilderness. The inhabitants of forest villages fear them, and animals give their nests a wide berth. Neckers are social creatures, gathering in something akin to tribes, for they can only repel the attacks of stronger assailants en masse.